Coming up, I am in Sweden for the reveal of the new Volvo EX60. The Volvo XC60, the combustion one, has sold millions of units, and now I have the chance to review the full battery electric one built on the SPA3 dedicated battery electric platform. This car features some really cool innovations such as mega casting, cell to body, and insane statistics such as 370 kilowatt plus charging, 112 kilowatt hours usable of capacity, which is insane for a relatively small SUV, and the list goes on and on. You'll learn all about that in this video. 2 points of clarification. One, I had a raging migraine when I shot this video. Some longtime viewers know I get those from time to time, and man, it was a rough one, so bear with me if I seem a little lethargic in this video. I really apologize. Just terrible timing. The second thing is a few statistics have changed from when I saw the car about a week ago to now. So I will leave little points of clarification up on the screen from time to time just to bring you up to speed on the latest specifications from Volvo. So join me in this video for the full unveil and tour and statistics talk on the new Volvo EX60. This video is brought to you by OpenVPP and Ionna. OpenVPP, a global virtual power plant for electric vehicles. See vehicles charging across the world and zoom in to see real-time charging status in what aims to be the world's largest vehicle virtual power plant. OpenVPP allows you to track charging history, energy usage, and daily trips, comparing your usage versus others, day to day and month to month. With OpenVPP, we're working together to showcase the potential of EV charging to electric grid operators. There may even be future coordinated EV charging rewards coming soon. So sign up today at world.openvpp.energy. It's completely free to join and takes under 60 seconds. And Ionna, the EV charging network brought to you by the world's leading automakers. Ionna is raising the bar on what it means to charge. We're talking a 400 kilowatt minimum nationwide network built with the customer in mind. Fast, reliable, affordable, every single time. Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. You guys join me in Sweden with this, the new Volvo EX60. And I have a cool opportunity to take you on a full tour of the car today. This is the unveil of the new EX60, so I'm super grateful to Volvo for letting me come out here, meet with all the folks to get all the nerd data for you. So yes, full tour and lots of technical information for you coming in this video on the new EX60. And here it is, really seeing it now for the first time along with you guys. This is such a cool moment. I absolutely am so grateful to be here to be able to show this car to you. And wow, we'll talk about the design, we'll talk about the battery packs. There are 3 separate battery packs, the drive units, the centralized compute, there's so much more in this video. And I'm in a studio right next to the Volvo factory in Gothenburg with the new EX60. There's actually 2 versions of the EX60 launching right now. There's this one, which is the sort of normal road-going one, and there's also a cross-country. So about halfway through the video, we're actually going to switch and move over to the cross country as we explore both models. So we'll have an opportunity to look at both of them. Just coming around here to show you, this is Volvo's sort of mid-size electric SUV. Think BMW iX3 competitor, Mercedes GLC, just with a little bit more Swedish flair, if you will. The XC60 has been a super popular car for Volvo, 3 million units sold, and I've spent a lot of time driving XC60s over the years, from just their straight combustion ones to mild hybrids to plug-in hybrids, and now with the SPA3 platform that this car is built on, it is battery electric only. Volvo is still keeping the SPA1 XC60 for the foreseeable future. They also will update that car and continue its life cycle, but for the SPA3 platform here is battery electric only, and it features some amazing innovations. So you have to forgive me as I don't really have a film crew here today. It's just me and my iPhone filming the new EX60. But I mentioned the SPA3 platform really being a pivotal moment for the brand, and it is. We're talking mega casting construction, cell to body, with insane thermal management, insane charging power, insane range, insane capacity. It's really just wild. Centralized compute, driver assistance improvements. You'll notice no LiDAR on this thing, but still very capable, and even more capable than the LiDAR cars. Volvo's removing LiDAR and going sort of camera plus radar, which I think is the correct approach for what they're trying to accomplish here, which is, you know, driver level 2 point-to-point system type situation. It's got NVIDIA hardware in here. It's got Snapdragon from Qualcomm stuff inside we're going to dig into. There's so much data. So what do you say we start by going on a full tour of the exterior, talking about specs and things like that, and then we'll go on the inside. Again, forgive me, it's literally just me and a phone today, but I love these videos. They're the way they should be. I flew over here just to film this car for an hour, and I'm turning around and flying straight back right after this shoot. I love the quick turnarounds, and for a car that's as important as the EX60, it is totally worth it. On this channel, I've actually already made full tours of this car's competitors. I've filmed the new GLC EV and the BMW iX3. You could say Rivian R2 as well. I have a video on that. So it's really heating up in this segment right now. It's sort of the like Model Y, but a bit more premium segment, if you will, and it's getting heated. So let's go into the EX60 and man, let's go figure out everything we can find out about this car. Well, let's just start on design. We'll start up front. We'll start looking around this thing, poking and prodding and hitting buttons. You know, in photos when I saw this car, just my own personal opinion, you have eyes, I'd love for you to have your own opinion. I didn't think it looked that great. I mean, I think XC60 and XC90 built on SPA 1 still look modern, still look great. And it was mostly the back end on this car that kind of bugged me a little bit. I think it looks like it tapers in quite a bit, and to me it just didn't look amazing in the photos. And I think this is the weakest part of the car design-wise, because you can see for aerodynamics, they just have the whole back end coming in. But this is how they can get their over 400 miles of EPA-rated range, because it's a mix of battery capacity and aerodynamics, and it's not meant to be the EX90, which is a much larger car. So if you're looking for sort of a 2-row electric SUV, then this is the move. We'll talk about all the door handles and stuff, but just to kind of show you around in here, plenty of backseat room, cool looking interior. We're going to go on a deep dive in this thing very, very soon in the video. But I guess we should start up here. Now, in the US, the Volvo badge is going to be amber because we have to have it, but it's just going to be that right there. That's the only difference. No giant, ugly amber side marker light or anything, and it looks so cool up here. You know, real nice Thor's hammer design in the headlight. You have a split system right here, so you have your main beam and your dipped beam, and then you have your ventilation system for cabin climate and battery conditioning for the vents to go in there for your thermal systems. Now, this is using a pretty interesting battery pack, which I can't wait to tell you about because it's so exciting. But before we do that, I think we should look under the front trunk so we can see how much space there is right up front. So I just went in, pulled the lever one time. In typical Volvo, you follow this and is where you always find the latch, and that is the case here for this car. So you've got your hood release always on the right side of the Volvo logo. Now, this is a pretty wide and fairly spacious front trunk. It goes pretty deep. You can tell they carved out as much as they possibly could. And they have this yellow line. And this yellow line indicates that you don't really want to put anything above that because this gasket compresses down and it could dent your hood. So I think that's kind of a neat feature. Also, Volvo always is so, I don't know, just so cool. They have all these cool innovations. So you have this funnel built in for your windshield washer fill right there. Nice looking front trunk design. I think it's good. You can see it's double latched, a very common Volvo situation. So we will rest it on the latches I saw someone do earlier. Latch that side, latch, latch, we're good. You would obviously do that with two hands if you had them available. I'm filming this one. In terms of around the side, there's some really cool things happening with the wheels. Wheels on offer are 20-inch, 21-inch, or 22-inch wheels. Here we have the big ones, the 22s. And you also, when you get the big wheels, get this little extra wide fender situation that I think actually looks pretty good. It just makes the car look a little bit wider, give it a little bit more stance. I've always liked that on the big wheel cars. However, you do lose a little bit of range going with the big wheels. In the EPA cycle, it's about 10 miles every time you go up on a wheel. There's a couple configurations that are a little bit more, but essentially from 20-inch to 21-inch, you lose 10 miles of EPA rated range and another 10 to go up. It's honestly not a big hit. And when I tell you about the battery capacity, you'll be like, oh, doesn't even matter because this thing's got such a huge battery. Nice extension here for the wheel arch to help with airflow. This was because the air kept hitting into the tire. That will divert the air around it, so that's cool. Everything does feel aero optimized. I mean, the EX60 feels a little bit maybe less substantial visually than the XC60, and that's common for a lot of electric replacement cars for combustion vehicles because aero is just so important. Moving around here, you have the typical great Volvo side mirrors where the glass comes all the way to the edge. That is such a great feature. And you have your 360-degree cam built in to that mirror mount situation. Now, the door handle's interesting. Everyone's complaining about all these crazy door handles and stuff. It doesn't bother me too much, and this is a really nice implementation. You put your hand right back here. There's a button that you squeeze, and this car might be locked at the moment, but you squeeze the button, and then the door will pop open. The front door's been having a little bit of issue on this pre-series prototype, but it's got a little bit of ambient lighting right in there. Squeeze the button, and the door will pop right open. I think that's kind of a nice implementation. It feels a little bit Mach-y to me. There we got the front door working. And then the interior door handle, first bit is the electric latch. So I can pull it like this. And then you can go all the way for the mechanical latch, which is really, to have that built in, so smart. I think a lot of cars do it this way, but this is really cool. 4 proper window switches. Take that EX90 and EX30. 4 proper window switches, which is so great. You no longer have the rear button that you did in the others. And of course, just lock and unlock. Many different interior colors and trims available on offer. We'll be talking about that as we get into the, into some displays that Volvo has set up here, which is really great. But what I've been dying to tell you about is everything to do with the battery pack and the charging and the nerd stuff, because it's so exciting to see Volvo wake up, come out of their slumber, and start building some insanely competitive electric cars, even with the new stuff, even right up there with iX3, which is just so cool. And it's something this car absolutely needed. And before we get into that, I want to show you the construction of the car a little bit. So we are pretty familiar on this channel with mega castings. They are such a cool technology to basically take hundreds of parts and tons of connection points and use these giant machines that essentially can create one casting. Now, they're very complicated to do, but the upside is you have so much better cost structure, so much better reliability once you dial in the manufacturing process. And this is the rear of the EX60. This is the first time Volvo has done a mega casting on a car that's sold in the Western world, because EM90, their van, shares the mega casting from the Zeekr 009, but most people don't know that car even exists. It's like the Volvo minivan. It's really cool, and that uses a mega casting. So this is a really cool tech that it's done here, and you can see there's repairable sections that are designed to get cut out and replaced, very similar to like Cybertruck in the back. And this is, again, something that was pushed by Tesla early on, in my impression, and then the rest of the industry was like, oh, great idea, let's start implementing that into our cars. And here it is in the EX60, making a ton of sense. iX3 uses something similar, others are using similar situations, and that's cool. So then that takes care of basically the rear section of the car. The battery pack is in an enclosure. It's a steel enclosure. However, there's no modules in the battery pack. You have large format prismatic cells that are lined up in the battery that are electrically connected. Of course, they're in there for safety. locked in place in that enclosure. And I don't have a battery pack to show you guys, but the entire battery pack is one unit, if you will. You can't do module replacements, you can't do cell replacements, which is smart because those are the things that don't fail in cars. What fails are a lot of the high voltage electrics in terms of contactors, AC chargers, things like that. And for repairability long term, just underneath this seat, you have access to a penthouse. So there's a power electronics part of the battery pack that's under that seat, and you have all of your repairable components as time goes on. Now, in most parts of the world, the EX60 launches with a 10-year battery warranty. I don't know the exact mileage. It depends on different markets. In the US, it depends on the state, but it'll either be 8 or 10 years. Some states require a 10-year battery warranty, but that again is fantastic, and it will hopefully be there for many years to come. I expect good longevity from this one. The P12 version, well, let me tell you a little bit about the battery before we nerd out too much. Let's walk through them. So there's 3 main versions of the EX60. There's what's called the P6, the P10, and the P12. The P6 is a single motor rear drive. The P10 and P12 are dual motor all-wheel drives. Now, I imagine most people are going to buy the P10. That's sort of the medium range all-wheel drive version. That's going to be the volume model. And launching after start of production will be this one, which is the P12. So in the P6, you get an 80 kilowatt hour usable battery pack. It's like 83 gross. And that uses, again, same prismatic cells type things. There's different suppliers for the P6 and P10 battery versus P12. P12 is CATL. The other one is Sundevolt. I don't remember exactly, but I'll leave it right here. The P6, again, 80 kilowatt hour rear drive. That's still plenty of capacity, high nickel cell. So they recommend a 90% daily charging limit. And that's plenty for 300 miles of range in the EPA cycle. I'm not talking WLTP. So a 300-mile rear drive car for well under $60,000 in that case is a really, really nice offering. Then you're going to get to the volume model, which adds the front motor, and that's 375 kilowatts, about 500 horsepower at that point. The front motor adds 100 kilowatts of power. You'll have a 91, 92-ish kilowatt hour usable battery pack. That's going to be awesome. And again, you're at like 320 miles of range. Quite a bit more battery capacity, but front motor, little extra weight, little extra content inside. You actually aren't gaining that much range in the EPA cycle. But still, to have a 300 plus mile electric SUV that's all-wheel drive with 500 horsepower is going to be more than enough for most people. And that's the configuration that's only available actually in the cross country that we're going to look at later. But then you get this one, and this is the one I'm excited for because we love long distance driving on this channel and others. This is a 112 kilowatt hour battery pack usable. CATL cells in this one. Insane, okay? 112 kilowatt hour usable. That's bigger than iX3, way bigger than GLC. GLC battery is similar to the P10 version. And Volvo was just like, boom, big battery. Consider all of that. This car has the lowest carbon, in terms of its production process, carbon output of any Volvo ever, including the EX30. Now that's probably for the small battery version on that particular statistic, but okay, pretty cool. The in terms of charging performance, let's talk rear drive really quick and we'll work our way up. But in the rear drive car, I'm just doing this off memory. I just got the specs like an hour ago. 320 kilowatt charging, 18-minute 10 to 80. Charging monster. We're talking Taycan numbers right there, 10 to 80%. Then in the volume model, the P10, it's going to also be 18 minutes 10 to 80, but you're up to around 350 kilowatt charging. And then in the top model, this one right here, you have 370 kilowatt charging. I bet it'll do a bit more. Manufacturers always claim a little bit underperformance. I wonder if we could get it to hit 400. I bet we could get really close. But almost 400 kilowatt charging, 370 manufacturer claimed, 10 to 80 in 19 minutes. There's just a lot more capacity. So that extra minute right there, man, really sucks, doesn't it? That's going to be an insane road tripper. Pair that with route planning that has plug and charge, on-route battery preconditioning, and everything you could possibly need this is going to be an insane road tripper. That is a crazy battery pack that deserves a ton of credit to go 800 volt for everything, to have 370 kilowatt charging, 400 miles of EPA range. It's amazing. That is one hell of a powertrain offering. And it's permanent magnet primary axle in the rear, I believe induction up front, but I need to double check that. I'm not sure we'll get that right now. We'll have to maybe wait till the launch, but for sure it's permanent magnet on the primary drive. Also, just to show you the charging port really quick, it is a manual charge port. The Swedes were like, we get a ton of snow, ton of ice. And they're like, we could have put an auto charge port in here, but they were like, you know what? People just prefer manual charge ports that work. And I'm like, yes, I agree. So 22 kilowatt AC charging in Europe, 80 amp charging, 19.2 kilowatt AC charging as standard in the US market. That is insane, completely blows away the competition there. And then of course your CCS DC pins. In the US, this car will launch and only come with the North American charging standard port, NACS or J3400. It's just the typical Tesla plug, but you will have the same giant charge port flap for the Tesla plug, which I think is silly. I really wish they would just have like a little notch somewhere around here, so you didn't have to have this big giant door for your little tiny charging port. That seems wild. This car will have access, of course, to the Tesla supercharger network through plug and charge, but it will have to use boosting power, to boost the power from the 400-ish volts that the superchargers can give it up to the 800-ish volts of the battery pack. I think it's like 630 in the small battery, and then you get into the 8s on the big battery. But we're waiting to hear what the number will be on the boosting power, so I will update you here shortly. Volvo told me that the car will do 120 kilowatts of boosting power at launch. Maybe improvements in the future. Probably not through software, but with hardware. That's not fast enough. We really need 200 kilowatt boosting power, maybe 150. Keep in mind, there are so many more high voltage charging stations in America now that can give this car the almost 400 kilowatts it needs with the big battery. All the Ionna stations, BP Pulse, the list goes on and on. However, I really think the Tesla supercharger network is still going to be the network of preference for many drivers, and 120 kilowatts is just not enough boosting power to launch with in the US market. So fingers crossed Volvo can up the boosting power to a more reasonable number. 220 kilowatts is perfect. That's what Lucid Gravity does. And I really think if you're going to give customers the best experience on a legacy 400 volt network, but still with native NACS and plug and charge and all the good stuff, we need 200 kilowatt charging, especially for those big batteries that it has. In terms of interior trims and colors, these are sort of the sampling combinations that Volvo has put together, but it really showcases the interior where you can have sort of the wool interior that I really love, and you can have actual Napa leather. It's sourced here locally. Super clean is my understanding. Love this color. That's the color that's on the car. I'm also a big denim blue fan. This is so nice right here, but I would skip the dark interior personally and go with a lighter color interior. This copper is kind of cool. I just think Volvos need to be light and airy, so I would tend to stick to more of the lighter color interiors. Keep in mind that Volvo interiors, we all know on this channel, tend to crease, and they are a little bit harder to take care of because they use such a fine grain material. So just be extra careful with it if you go with the actual leather. Similar to like what I have in my Polestar, you really got to care for it. Maybe this will be a little bit hard wearing, but I don't know. I think that kind of ruins the vibe. Always go for the light interior with one. Guys, check this out. I just ran next door to come take a look at the new EX60 Cross Country. There's some really nice updates for this particular one. I'm going to hold off on that just for a little bit because I want to finish up nerding out with you guys, but then I'll of course explain EX60 Cross Country. But let's talk about the motors. And here it is. So from a motor standpoint, like I mentioned, we have the rear axle as the primary axle. It's a permanent magnet rear motor. And then I believe an induction motor up front. So that way you can have basically the big power off the line, the big efficiency from the permanent magnet motor, the stability and power when needed on the induction motor up front, but you won't have any flux related losses. And based off of the range figures out of this car, really you can tell that that's the case. I have to make one correction though, because there was some debate this morning about the actual charging performance. Again, we're filming this car well ahead of its reveal that you guys will see I don't know, whenever this video goes live. I mentioned that the middle-sized battery pack, the P10, which is that 91, 92 kilowatt hour pack, that will actually charge at 370 kilowatts. I initially was told 350. So how cool is that? You get 320 kilowatts on the P6 and 370 both on the P10 and P12. I would think P12 should charge even faster. It's a much larger battery pack, but it's probably a more energy-dense battery pack rather than a power-dense battery pack. And so I think they found the correct balance of that right there. It's still almost 400 kilowatt charging, which we have almost no infrastructure in the US that can do more than that. And I think this is the perfect car for this time period in terms of the electrical stats, the sort of numbers on paper stuff. They nailed everything to do with this car. But let me tell you how much it costs before I go into the rest of the review. So like I mentioned, I think the P10 is kind of the sweet spot. You get over 90 kilowatt hours of capacity, all-wheel drive, 370 kilowatt charging on that one, we're learning now. That car, with like a nicely equipped feature list that comes with the Bose sound system. So they have like an unbranded Bose and then Bowers & Wilkins. I love the Bowers & Wilkins stuff and everything, but from what I'm hearing is the Bose is actually amazing as well. You get adaptive damper, you get a bunch of other things in that car, really nice. 60 grand, right around it. That's a really nicely spec'd long range all-wheel drive with everything you could possibly need, all the driver assistance, everything else, for just about $60,000. That is going to be an interesting price battle between GLC, iX3, EX60, and R2 coming in our market. I think this is really heating up to be a big year of comparison testing from our side. Let me know in the comments which one has captured your heart so far. All of these are unreleased cars that are coming out, and they're all going to be battling each other, and they seem to all be targeting the same type of consumer, but a little bit different interest from each. Man, I like all of them, so it's really hard for me to choose. Let me know what you think. So now we come over here to the cross-country version. So the cross-country version is at standard ride height, 20 millimeters higher than the standard car. And the standard car uses a steel spring with an adaptive damper. The rear drive P6 is the only one that does not use a electrically adaptive damper, that has just a frequency response damper. These have electronically controlled dampers on the P10 and P12. When you get cross country, you get air suspension. So you have a very similar geometry to the entire suspension system, just a slightly wider track. You can see it's got a little bit of width going on to it with the wheel arch right there. And so it sits 20 millimeters higher in its base format, but then if you're going off-road, or even if you want a little extra comfort, it can go another 20 millimeters higher than it is right now. Now, I'm not sure how that would add extra comfort, because you'd be putting more pressure in the airbags. Maybe I read it wrong, or it was a translation from the press release, but we'll have to play around with it when we get one on test to see exactly what the suspension feel is like in different ride height settings. But here you get air suspension with electronically controlled damper. It really is the full setup, and you lose almost no range. It's about a 10-mile penalty compared to the standard car on the same 21-inch size wheels and tires. It's a 10-mile difference. And if you're gonna go P10, which I think you go P12 because you want the big range and charging, although, you know, most people don't need that. If you're going to go P10, the cross country might make sense if the air suspension really is that much better, but we'll have to wait and see how they drive back to back. Ultimately, I think it's more of a feel thing. If you're going to end up doing some dirt road cruising, some adventuring, going up to the cabin on the weekends, things like that, then go for the cross country. But I wish you could get the cross country with the big battery, because then you just tick all the boxes. You've got everything you could possibly need at that point. And Volvo said they're considering this, but it's certainly not going to happen anytime soon. And the big battery is delayed anyway until early 2027, it sounds like. So this makes a lot of sense. If you're going to be getting an early EX60, maybe the cross country is the way to go. So if we look at some differences here, you've got a actual stainless steel skid plate that goes underneath here. Looks pretty cool. Some nice styling details and touches. I like both the sort of low to the ground standard EX60 classy look and the cross country look. I think this car pulls off both. And I would argue that the rear of the car in the cross country trim actually looks a little bit better in my impression. Another stainless steel skid plate. And I think in this car, this is the one, let's see where the trunk release is on this thing. Hello. There we go. It's actually, there's no like indentation when you're running your fingers across. It's hard to feel. There's no like surface material change, the actual button to open the trunk. This is the car we're going to do a full interior tour in right now. So that's why I have this giant light pointing at the interior, because the lighting guys here were super nice and they offered to make sure that because we're filming a cross country with the only cross-country interior you can get, which I think is kind of a shame because it would be cool to get a little bit of a brown or a lighter interior color. You just have this blue, but it's got this cool sort of fabric-y insert with a really nice feeling sort of material around the outside, a high quality, smooth grain material there. I really like that. It reminds me of BMW's sort of fake leather thing, but it's a really great looking material. This is what it's all about here. I mean, this is not supposed to be the EX90. This is not the biggest car they offer. So there's a couple things going on. First of all, the rear of the car tapers in the back for better airflow, better aerodynamics. And you can see there's quite a bit of space between the edge of the body and the trunk lid opening. It seems to be like it's missing, I don't know, 6 inches on each side of width. However, this could mean good things for noise performance, and we'll have to wait to see how it drives. And the plastic panels do come all the way out there. They've also done nice little cutouts in the trunk space here, so you get extra storage capacity down that way. And it does go super deep. I mean, this is a large space. This is maybe the coolest feature I didn't know I needed until I saw it. There is a split folding underfloor storage area. This is so cool because how many times do you want to put stuff in the underfloor storage area, but you've got bags back here or you have your dog back here or something, and you're just like, you got to move everything out of the way just to lift up to get something under here. Here you can shift over or just, you know, put your dog crate on this side and boom, get your access right there. They also have a luggage set that fits perfectly in this super deep underfloor storage well. This is such a well thought out rear trunk area, and your partition, you know, this sort of folding partition can go there, which is great, which is where most people will probably put it. And this is also designed to hold your roof racks, because the roof racks in this car, you can see the mounting points there, fold in half, and they're designed to fit in the underfloor storage as well. Super cool. That is just so many little useful things that this car, I think, is really doing such a good job at. And it's always been the Volvo thing, but it just feels like a really nice holistic package now of great features that are actually useful, paired with incredible EV technology that's surely going to make the ownership experience great on the road. I'm really loving this thing. I am like so excited because I didn't know it was going to be this freaking good. Got the power tailgate in the back, a proper rear wiper, which is, everyone can rejoice. It's a strong one too, so it can push all the snow out of the way when it fills up. You know, driving around here in Gothenburg, it's been snowing outside the last few days. And you know what? You just understand that when cars are designed in environments that are not kind, you get really useful wiper technology. Shout out Tesla. My auto wipers still don't work after owning those cars for like 10 years. The early ones were fine when they used an actual sensor. This is my first time climbing in the back. Whoa, super low floor, same as on the P12 actually. So you get a really, really deep floor, which, let me zoom in a little bit, you can see is great. And you can see my feet completely go underneath the seat in front. So plenty of knee room and very low floor. This is when it's always nice to have someone helping film, but sorry, there is no one here. Here I am sitting in the back seat now for the first time, and I am impressed. Great headroom, unbelievable headroom. The glass roof comes up and behind my head, I can show you here. So look at that. I'm 6'1" or 1.86 m, and I'm in full upright position with a ton of room. And I'm surprised actually, because from visually, the back of the car gets narrower than the front. I still have plenty of room to move my head around. I could fit a third person here in the center if I needed to very quickly. And wow, this is a really nice back seat area. I've also got some USB ports, heated seats. Let me show you around. So closing the back area, we've got This is your door handle to close, by the way. So you put your hand in there, and then you have your window switch, your door with the mechanical override. Great to see that. And we have a powered backrest for the rear. So if I push the right button, it goes forwards, and the left button, it goes backwards. I think they should reverse that. That seems a little bit backwards to me. And you have a nice seat back pocket, very tight seat back pocket. Actually, it can barely fit much in there, but you've got it. And you've got rear heated seats with a rear climate section right there, and USB ports. You have one 60-watt port and one 18-watt port, I believe. Same for the two ports in the front. You have a 60-watt and then one 18-watt. I would have preferred to see 100-watt ports all around. It's 2026 now. Let's do it. Same setup on that side. Really loving the seat material. This is such a nice interior material. I just don't love the color. It's this navy bluish color. It's cool. I just think Volvos need to have light color interiors, in my opinion. And then we get a really nice center armrest. Whatever material this is, it's sort of like vegan leather, right? It's that synthetic material. This is nice. It feels so hard wearing. This is great. This flips up and you've got 3 cup holders. What? 2 plus maybe a phone holder? Not sure, but that's cool. Let's fold the back seats down, see how much space we can get. So to fold the back seats, how do we do this? I'm going to reach in here, headrest folds, boom, we're down. Let's go run around to the other side. I'll open this up on the way as well. Now that I know where the button is, I can do it quick. Really like the door handles, actually. That's kind of cool. And we'll do the same. It's just this little notch right there. Electrically folding headrest, and we're locked in. I'm going to pull out the partition and then let's take a look. So we have the EX60 fully down now. You can see I put the partition here. So let's fold that perfectly right there. Wow, that is a really nice flat load floor. Now you'll have to watch Thomas on AutoGefühl for the tape measurer. He's got his, proprietary patented tape measure that he brings around with him. Good friend of mine, great dude, love Thomas. And you could sleep in here. And Volvo's thinking about introducing a whole camp mode in this car, dog mode, and a keep climate. They know they've got to do it. I gave them a lot of crap for this car not having a dog mode. How can they launch a dog-friendly car without dog mode in 2026? What the heck? Even Polestar 4 has it, as you guys know on this channel. So I spoke to them and I was like, come on, guys. And they're like, if VinFast can do it, Volvo can do it. And they're like, all right, it's coming on the product roadmap, OTA, potentially, no promises. But to me, that's a make or break for a lot of people to have a way to keep climate on with the rear air vents spun up, with the camera monitoring, and it's just a software upload away. And thankfully, this car uses some pretty cool software and hardware from an electrical architecture standpoint. So I feel like that was the perfect segue to jump in up front and nerd out about some infotainment stuff. Yeah, I don't know. There is something just about this back end, whatever's going on around here, that just doesn't feel substantial enough to me. It feels a little bit like a cockroach is what it is reminding me of. I don't know why, but yeah, everything else looks great except, I don't know, it just needs a little bit better stance in the back. All right, let's jump up front because I'm curious about seating position. Volvo has always had a great seating position, storage, and some other stuff. First of all, huge door pockets here with a soft touch material. This whole door is kind of squishy. It's got some padding below it, which is kind of cool, but then straight plastic on the inside of the door. That's not cool. If a base Model 3, a literally standard Model 3 can come with carpeted door inserts, this should be able to as well. That way you just don't hear stuff flying around in there. Then you've got a nice material down the door card here. This is where you grab the door to open and close it. I think that's cool, but it did take me a second to figure that out. And I already showed you the 4 proper window switches, which I'm so glad this car has. Now we're getting into one that has the Bowers & Wilkins with the centralized tweeter. I don't know what the Bose system will look like, but you gotta get Bowers. They tell me the Bose is good though, so let me drop the seat all the way down. Oh, good seating position in this car, really nice. And they use their, here going upside down for a second, they use their square controller here to go with backrest, forward and back. This, and then I can push the center to bring up different controls. This car, that doesn't work. This is still a very pre-series car. So, yep, not working on that one right now. To adjust the steering wheel, I can come here to this, adjust steering wheel, and then this switch is exactly opposite of how everyone else does it. Normally you'd push to the right to come out, that pushes it in. So I'm gonna push this out, and look at this. Comes out so far, still going. There we go. And you can just get the perfect seating position in this car where the wheel is close. I'm on the ground. It feels like not totally on the ground, but totally acceptable. And this is my view directly eye level sitting in the EX60. You have this sort of square top and bottom wheel, which normally I hate, but they did it so that you can see the driver instrument cluster up there. And I have a great view of this screen here. So from eye level, I can see the road. No need for a head-up display with this screen. Far away from you, it's easy to transition from the road back to this screen. You've got the Bowers & Wilkins to show that you spec'd the car properly, and you've got the screen right there to do all of your main infotainment functions. This feels really nice in here. I love the look of everything. The turn signals are a little bit thinner version than what's on EX60, which have the sort of round circular component to them. You can see up and down for park, reverse, neutral, and drive. All of your driver assistance topics on this side of the wheel. I'm not really sure what this button does versus that button. That I have no idea. I've never seen that symbol in a car before, but we'll have to play around with it when we drive it. Whoa, that's loud. And then you've got your, oh yeah, just sort of track, up and down, volume, things like that, and then infotainment controls on this side. Before we get into software stuff, actually, let me just show you a couple other little things. We've got a glove box here in the center. I guess that's a good place to put a key or just some extra little things. That's really a smart cubby. Again, 60 watt USB and 18. So you've got both there, and then the cables get routed through this little connection point. Wireless phone charger, 15 watts, so that's cooled. So you do have a cooled wireless charger, and no glove box there. It's just a centralized glove box. I love this extra empty space to put your purse, put your bags, put whatever. We've seen some cars have this over the years, and just having an open space like this with a high enough wall right there so things don't fly out, super useful. Not many buttons in this car, but you do have a volume knob that's pretty nice. You can push it in to pause and play music, and then track left and right. That's it. Everything else is done through this infotainment system with a curved OLED display that I think is, maybe the curved makes it look kind of weird and ugly, actually. I don't think I like that. Yeah. I really don't think I like that, but we'll talk about that in a second. Sound system, I just tried it. Doesn't really work in this car. There's like one speaker over there that plays. We'll have to play around with it, but usually Volvo, Bowers & Wilkins, insanely powerful. You just have to remember this is an early pre-series prototype. And then you've got some hard buttons up this way where you've got your hazard light button. Again, doesn't do anything. You've got it right there on the display. Also doesn't do anything. This is just a demo car. And then you always have with Volvos your heated buttons, so that if the software doesn't boot up for whatever reason, or you just have gloves on and the screen won't respond to touch, you can just quickly defrost the car with that. But of course you have a phone app with phone as a key, so you would just get in, precondition, and go. By the way, phone as a key is ultra wideband, so it'll work with like your watch and everything else, which is great. Okay, so just a quick clarification moment for you guys. First of all, it's important to remember the different SPA platforms. So SPA stands for Scalable Product Architecture. In 2014, 15, right, somewhere around there, Volvo launched SPA 1. That's like what XC90 is based on, XC60, V60, V90, the list goes on and on. We're all familiar with SPA 1. CMA was like XC40, C40, and Polestar 2. And then SPA 2 came, and that's EX90, Polestar 3, ES90. And there's two versions of SPA 2. There's the early one, which is like a 400 volt car, and it only ran for one model year, just 2025. Now we have SPA 2 upgraded, which is the 800 volt system architecture, these motors from the EX60, and a bunch of other things. And so that's the one you want. 350 kilowatt charging, 112 kilowatt hours, I think, or 107 kilowatt hours. I don't think it's the same cell that's in the EX60, but SPA 2 upgraded is kind of like halfway to SPA 3. And SPA 3, which we're in here, all of this developed inside of Volvo, almost no help from Geely, all done here in Sweden. This is a Volvo scalable platform that will take them basically through the entire model range, similar to SPA 1. And so it's launching with XC60, but it will go to other vehicles as well. So I don't know what that means for the SPA 2 cars deep into the future. Volvo isn't really being super open about sharing roadmap going forward. Of course, they never are. No automaker would be. But I just think it's interesting how SPA 2 happened and it was just a blip, and now SPA 3 is the big effort going into it. And yeah, it seems like the bones here, which is what matters when it comes to architecture planning. It seems like the bones are really good. Let's talk software and compute. So the first thing is in terms of driver assistance. My understanding is this car is going to launch with just basic highway assistance, lane centering, adaptive cruise control, things like that. But they are going to over-the-air update this car throughout its life cycle. At least the rumor, the claim is to stop at stoplights, make turns, and do some more assisted driving functions, which especially in the US market is needed to stay competitive. For example, I drove a Model Y here, which is a much cheaper car than this. I didn't drive it to Sweden. I drove it to the airport, and it drove me the whole way. I mean, I sat there to supervise, but I left the office and arrived to the airport, and it parked itself. I didn't touch the wheel one time. That is a real competitive advantage that automakers are going to have to catch up to, and it sounds like Volvo's aware of that system. They were very complimentary of that system, and they know that they are going to work really hard on that moving forward. So I hope to cover that going forwards. In terms of what's going to be running the centralized compute, which would run ADAS and other functions on the car, it's going to be an NVIDIA Drive AGX Orin chip, which is not the latest and greatest, but it's a highly competitive chip. It's going to be a really powerful system to run this car. Now, that does not run the HMI or the infotainment display. That's going to be a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8255 chip that powers this. And I think that's going to be okay as well. This is a pre-series car, but you can see it totally moves quick. There's no lag with anything whatsoever. So that seems to work pretty well. And I expect that to hold up very well as well. I mean, I think sometimes it's good that Volvo has that Geely backing because the Chinese know how to do chips, and I hope they got involved here. Now, the screen being curved, I really just don't think I like that at all. I would prefer a flat screen personally. I think it makes this stuff look almost farther away on this side, but you can pull down for notifications. You have all of your apps right there, which is really great. So your air quality apps, things like that. You can come over here to your quick controls for the car. So you can put it in range mode, standard, performance mode. I guess this would do clutch disconnecting, or potentially if it's an induction motor, would lock it in. I just don't know what this car has, whether it's an induction or dual permanent magnet. They told me it was induction, but I don't know. Yeah, and then you've got your roof shading. So this car uses a electrochromatic tinting roof, which is really awesome. That seems to be one of the stronger ones in the industry, that's for sure. That's very cool. And you can do a lot of your quick controls from here. In terms of other settings, as we run through this, sorry, I'm just here by myself and I've got a raging migraine, so forgive me for feeling a little bit under the weather. Bad timing. You've got all your pilot assist stuff, so it'll do automatic lane changes, prevent overtaking on the right, very smart. One pedal drive, you can go off, low, high, or auto. You can have creep as well if you want. This is how I would drive it, off and high one pedal driving. Drive modes, performance optimized for dynamic driving, balanced experience, and optimized for range and efficiency. Steering feel, suspension feel, again, we're in the cross country, but you will have this option on P10. Any P10 or P12 will give you these options here. And it's just the P6 that won't have the suspension options because that's a passive frequency response damper. Then you've got all of your safety stuff. Boom. Some more controls. Tow mode if you need to have the car towed away. You've got steering wheel stuff, wireless device charging. Yeah, that's just to adjust the steering wheel. I want to go take a look at charging options. So sound, you've got your Bowers and Wilkins, tone equalizer. Oh, it has voice amplification in the cabin. That's really cool. How about that? So you can talk to the rear seat passengers a little bit easier. With Dolby Atmos, this doesn't seem to be working. Maybe it's because the sound system's off. No, I just don't think the sound system's configured in this car. But charging certainly is. So you can charge to 90% daily, they recommend. And then 100% for the long trip. Volvo is one of the few brands that recommend such a high daily charge limit. If it were up to me, I would charge it to 50% every day, just for extra battery capacity. But honestly, most people lease these cars. Even if you keep it for 5 or 10 years, you just charge it to what you want and you don't worry too much about it. The big things that kill battery longevity is if it charges to 100 and sits there for too long. You really want to avoid that. So yeah, I would do this in my car, and then when I go on a trip, I'll use it. Never let the car limit you. Or of course, you can do the 90% daily charge limit. You can do schedules right there, and yeah, regardless of the schedule, you can charge it up to a certain level. I really like that. And then amperage limit, again, 80 amps standard in the US, which is cool. Here, I don't know, does it let you go past 32? Because that would be 22 kilowatt charging. Yes, it just lets you go to whatever. That's just not configured yet. Then manual battery preconditioning. So you get 30 minutes of manual battery preconditioning with that right there. And you have plug and charge with multiple networks. I think this is a really great situation. And yeah, very, very, very smart. Then you get your car status. So you can see what maintenance is required, what your tire pressure is. This car uses actual TPMS, not the rolling TPMS, which is fantastic as well. Like in my Polestar 1, I can never see what PSI my tires are at because it does a calculation based off rolling. This will tell you actual TPMS. And here it will tell you what you're ready for in terms of DC fast charging power. Now, some of this is regulation driven that I'm going to show you, but it's all really great stuff. It says the battery temperature has been optimized, and because we're at 90%, it's saying we'll only get 20 kilowatt charging. So it might do the typical Volvo thing and kind of suck at top charging, but we'll have to do all the charge tests with it. It'll tell you your battery temperature. It says it's 20 degrees Celsius, and your battery health. And I absolutely love that it can tell you battery health, battery temperature, and your maximum real-time charging power to make sure that you're optimized for charging. That is a great menu to have in a car. And then, you know, the list goes on and on with all the other apps. The HVAC controls are pretty interesting. You can allow focus, flow away, or automatic. If you go focus, you can adjust, you know, just like that, the vents move around electrically. That works pretty well. This doesn't allow like too much room. I just hope you can dial it in. It just matters on how much beam they get out of them. And that the HVAC isn't working in this car right now. It's all set to off because we're in the studio. So hopefully, I mean, we'll certainly play around with it, but it'll be interesting. When you go to the rear, you just have your rear heated seats and you can sync the temperature. Okay, interesting. You've got your air quality information, and yeah, list goes on and on. But that's really the infotainment system. I think we get a pretty good idea of everything we're looking for there. Google Maps wasn't working in the other car, and it's not here as well. But it's just the typical, wow, very fast loading time on that, actually. It doesn't let me set a destination. Will it let me drop a pin? No. But it'll do its normal Google-based route planning, which is like good but not great. It's not super optimized, but it'll get the job done and preconditioned, and you can follow it. But there's always room to optimize over the Google-based route planning stuff. I just wish they would let you set a charger state of charge desired at a charger versus your end destination. So say, okay, I want to get to charging stations at 5%, but I want to get to the cabin at 50% because I don't have charging there, or whatever it might be. A lot of other cars let you dial both of those in. I wish the EX60 did as well. And here you can see the camera system with a very responsive screen. That Snapdragon is working well in this, and you can see you've got your 360 cam view. At least that's where it's all going to show up right there. Very nicely done. So that's the interior, exterior, and full studio tour with all the nerd details on the new Volvo EX60. Totally cool to come here. Literally flew in and flying right back out to shoot this video for you guys because it's such an important car. As someone who has appreciated Volvo over the years, I just think that they have absolutely nailed this new sort of mid-size crossover vehicle. It's amazing how well they did, actually, because you wouldn't expect Volvo, or at least they have not up to this point, really killed it with the EV stuff. They've not been that efficient. They've not charged that well. That seems to have all gone out the window, and they are bringing class-leading stuff to the market. And I think that deserves a ton of credit for a reasonably small company. Yes, they're backed by Geely, but this was all done inside of Volvo right here in Sweden. SPA 3 is their own architecture with their own everything. everything in it, and that deserves a ton of credit. So shout out to them for making this car. I can't wait to drive it and get to experience it for the first time with you guys. It's certainly a car we are going to be covering so closely on this channel, along with its competitive set. This really heating up. While everyone's talking about EVs are kind of dwindling, well, we've got some amazing cars coming out right now, like this one here, and its competitive set. It's getting super exciting. So thanks so much for watching another Out of Spec Reviews video. Thanks to Volvo for having me out here to film this video. That was super cool, and we'll see you on another one again soon. Bye-bye.